Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys in Africa. You know we love you, the Big C tribe. But I tell you, there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south, in the land of the free and the home of the brave, on the beautiful January 17th, 2019, Big C. How's it going for you good old boys down south?
Charlton, just a beautiful day down here. Rain shine.
Again?
Rain shine. No sunshine, rain shine. Makes me want to go out and play golf.
Yeah, I tell you, a lot of guys, just like Caddyshack, I guess you go out and start playing a lot of golf, and the rain decides it wants to play too, but it wants to put the ball in the hole. But there's just so much that we love about this great sports universe, this country that has sports. Everybody that I talk to from Chicago, got friends in Chicago, friends in New York, down in Florida, Texas, they all want to know about these football games coming up, and I want to know about them too, Big C. A lot of stuff still going on in the government. I hope that we can find a way going into the weekend, this great Martin Luther King holiday weekend, that we can at least get the government restarted. That would be a great sign for the universe that people can always, fix your mistakes. And hopefully we can do that. I want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. Big C, so you said it's raining again, or did you have the sprinkler on too long, Big C? Which was it, Big C?
Charlton, we got thunder, we got lightning, we got rain. I think I saw a couple of ducks going down the street.
Yep.
And they weren't even walking.
They weren't even walking. I know it's all fair in love and war. I want to acknowledge, our Cadillac. They have these beautiful cars that are all coming out. The XT4, the 2019. It's just $35,000, Big C. What a bargain. You probably got that in your back pocket, you and guys like POTUS. But I noticed, Big C, they've been doing some more advertising that looks like they're talking about their cars driving around in the universe. They have these stars, like in Star Wars, when Star Wars came out, and they had this appearance of going into light speed, and Star Trek did it too. And whenever they did that, you have these stars that would like shoot by you like they were laser beams. And Cadillac opened up with their commercial like that last night with the Golden State Warriors and then New Orleans Pelicans basketball game. I want to get your thoughts. If you've seen the commercial, Big C, and they had everything but thunder and lightning, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, no, but the Highway Patrol told me that, Charlton, when I went by him. He said I went by him like a beam of light, So, I saw his lights in my rearview mirror, so I guess I needed to see what he needed to talk about.
Yeah.
So, the commercial is true to a degree, Charlton. It just depends on who's behind you.
Yeah, that's it. Well, mainstream probably don't get pulled over, but you're not mainstream, Big C. But I do appreciate, our church is doing something on fasting and praying, and a lot of athletes do it. I think the great late Reggie White started it. I know some players did it before him. But they would meet at midfield after an Eagles football game, and they would do a group prayer. He also did it when they played for the Green Bay Packers over in San Francisco, and they came and played the 49ers a couple of times. Brett Favre was quarterback versus Steve Young. But this thing about seeing things that come out in your mind before they come out in the public. And when I saw Cadillac with their new commercial, when they're broadcasting on the NBA basketball game last night, Golden State and New Orleans Pelicans, it was such a catching commercial. Because most commercials, Big C, you see them when the cars are driving on the ground, right? They're driving on the road. Or sometimes they'll go off-road and drive on the dirt, like a lot of times what you do down south. Your Escalade, I didn't know it was an off-road vehicle, but you made it one. But they have it like it's driving through space. And it's just like what we see on our programming. There are times when your mind can see things, and it's just by coincidence that other people pick it up. I want to get your thoughts on that, Big C.
Well, Charlton, I guess is a throwback to the Jetsons. If we think about that cartoon spin-off from the 60s, Charlton, where, you had the space cars and everybody rode around through the galaxy and everything. When we think about, the excellence in automobile construction, Charlton, and Cadillac has done that years, since the 40s, in America has always been a flagship vehicle.
Yep.
And where they've moved to the upper echelon of luxury cars in America, especially in the SUV range,
Yep.
Escalade, and their sedans have always been luxurious.
Yeah.
And Cadillac's just been an American staple to show that American quality can compete on the world stage, Charlton.
Yeah.
That's what they've been able to maintain over the decades.
Yeah, and Curtis Mayfield back in the, I think it was Car Wash, and they had, it was singing a song, Diamond in the Back, Sun Rooftop, Digging in the Scene with the Gangsterling, and I forgot the title of that song, but I know he talked about having the Cadillac with the antenna in the top. And I know that a lot of, let's just be honest, it's a car that the president drives, right? POTUS drives one. I think they call it the Beast, America's staple of cars. But as an African American, oftentimes, and I'm sure GM's for everybody, but in the community where I grew up, oftentimes when men or women became successful, they wanted to drive that kind of vehicle where they had the longer body types like the Fleetwood and the Eldorado, and the Coupe de Ville was the one that I really loved, because the Cadillac Coupe de Ville, and now they're changing those names in for numbers like the XT4, and again the Escalade stands on its own. They have they just have numbers like European cars do, and I wonder if they've done wrong by changing the numbers when they made themselves a fortune by having names at the end of their cars. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I think, Charlton, that those names are synonymous with the large vehicle that Cadillac has. If you look at the Escalade, it's the large vehicle of the fleet.
Yeah.
And when you look at these smaller cars, Charlton, to compete on that European stage,
yeah,
I think the numbers, and most European cars are identified by numbers, Charlton.
Yeah.
Versus people trying to pronounce name. How are you going to put that name in Spanish, in German, in French, Charlton?
Yeah.
So the translation is not there with the names, but it is there with the numbers where, they're universal.
Yeah.
So, but that's adapting to the times. Just as you changed the structure of the vehicles, you went from these huge, enormous passenger cars, Charlton, to mid-size and structure to the modern world, Charlton.
Yeah.
As far as parking, as far as economy, all of those things. Flagship is, Cadillac has just been there as a staple, and has maintained their posture as a flagship vehicle.
Yeah, and I think the fact that, I know you're big on big cars, Big C. I know that show that they did with LeBron James.
Well, you belly got to be able to get past the steering wheel, Charles.
I thought it was a
You understand that. That's the reason why we have big cars.
I understand, Big C, that I still think one of the best usage of the Cadillac Escalade is when they were going to Final Four. I think it was Charles Barkley, and it was Samuel L. Jackson, and they had Spike Lee, and they were driving, trying to get to where their destination was for the Final Four. I thought that was great. There was also one with LeBron James and Kevin Durant. They were in the back of one. They were being driven by a lady from ESPN, I think Carrie Chapman. I might be having the name wrong. But that was something where they all had so much space. It was one of the rare times you could see guys that are 7 feet tall, or 6'11" for Durant, and 6'8", 6'9" for LeBron James. And they had no problem with their leg room. Like a lot of big guys, they need cars like that, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this is the reason why you see athletes drive the larger vehicles.
Yeah.
We all want to drive in the little sports cars and everything and look sexy.
Yeah.
But we look sexy in whatever vehicle we're getting out of.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So we can get rid of some of the fluff of the little tiny two-door cars, Charlton.
Yeah.
And get the big sedans and ride around in them.
Yeah, it all makes sense in love and war, especially when you're a pastor. You gotta not a room. You gotta carry all those ties to the bank. You can have a two-door sports car, Mercedes coupe. You gotta have that big old Escalade taking that car down to the bank so you can cash those ties in and give that money to God. Yeah, I just say, God, does God ever ask for the receipt? I'm not even being silly. I was talking to a business partner today, and a lot of people raise money for whatever thing they do. And a lot of churches do a good cause, and they know who they are, if they do or if they don't. But does anyone ever wonder, where does the tithe really go? Do they send it into heaven, or do they send it to the bank to buy cars or to buy houses? As many of these mega churches, and it's brought up to me by a pastor when they were talking about the fasting, can you do right? And he even called out some other pastors with MLK holiday coming up, and how people are taking and fleecing the church so they can buy things that they could not afford on their own. Do you see that's happening down south? Because it's kind of hush-hush where people don't even criticize it. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, one of the things that has occurred in this past week with some of the mega churches around here in the South, Charlton, is that they've put together money funds for government workers, Charlton. There was one church in our region, Charlton, that cut a check for $300 to every member that is a government worker, Charlton.
Yeah, that's a
There's
good
another
cause.
church that is paying the power bill
Yeah,
of every government worker. So churches have these slush funds, Charlton, that they get from their tithes that they utilize in many ways that people don't ever see.
yeah,
Is that when people are in times of need, when we think about Americans who have so much pride, Charlton, who
Yeah.
don't want to say that they're struggling,
right.
one of the places they've always been able to turn is to the ministry, Charlton,
Yeah.
and seek help. And there's many of those ministries, Charlton, that look at that their parishioners, Charlton, have been there for them.
Yep.
And in times of need, they have to turn around, Charlton, and return that support to them.
Yeah,
And when you think about the number of government workers, as I say, a lot of people are realizing now that we're not black what slavery is.
exactly.
Because they're working for free
Yep.
and have no choice but to go to work,
Yep.
whether they feel good or not.
Yep.
But, it's a travesty what's going on in our country right now because you have a president that has a base in, he has to build a wall.
Right.
I don't know if anybody understands how long it takes to build 2,000 miles of concrete and steel.
Yeah.
You have to produce concrete factories. You got to bring in this rebar. Oh, think about this. We have this tariff going on with China right now.
Yep.
That's where the United States gets 60 to 70% of their steel from is China. So this wall is going to be very expensive, or it's a payback to China.
Yeah.
One of the two.
One of the two.
And so as the president thinks that this wall could be built over a weekend, we're talking about years.
Yeah.
5 to 10 years to build 2,000 miles of 40 feet wall, basically, because you got to put the wall at least 5 to 10 feet down in the ground, and he's talking about going 30 feet high.
Wow.
So, that lets me know the lack of intelligence of people who are sitting there thinking that you can just go out and build a wall in a week. But, Charlton, we have more travesties created by American citizens
Yeah.
than Mexicans coming across the border, Charlton.
Oh, yeah.
Those 338 school shootings in 2018 under President Trump's watch, Charlton,
Yeah.
were done by disgruntled white males.
Yeah.
Not by Mexicans crossing the border.
Yep.
So people really need to understand that. That Las Vegas shooting down at the
casino?
at that concert last year, Charlton. That was done by a white male, not
Yeah.
a Mexican coming across the border, Charlton.
Yeah.
The school shooting in Stoneman Douglas,
Down
which was one of the
Florida?
338 school shootings
Yeah.
that was done and got national attention, Charlton, was done by a white American, not a Mexican coming across the border.
Yeah. That's
So
true.
when we want to sit there and villainize a race of people, Charlton, we have to look at the people that are born in this country. When we look at the prisons in this country, Charlton,
Yeah.
they are full of people that were born in this country, Charlton,
Yeah. That's
that
true.
look like the president, complexion-wise.
That's a good point.
You know,
Big C.
people want to say that African Americans are the largest part of the prison population. They're not, Charlton. It's disproportionate in percentage
Yeah.
that they're there. But there are more whites incarcerated in prisons than there are African Americans. And, I want to look at this thing that the president just did with the Clemson football team, Charlton.
Yeah. The hamburger.
When he bragged about the hamburgers
Yeah.
that he went and got, McDonald's, Wendy's, Domino's, and Burger King. Think about this. He fed Burger King to the Clemson football Tigers, Charlton.
Yep. Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
That's the same meal that Dylan Booth got after he shot up the church
Isn't that
down
something?
in South Carolina that the police gave him.
What a dog whistle.
Think
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. I think about that too, Big C. And I know, but we talk about MLK coming up on Monday. A lot of people are planning marches and churches doing services. And when we talk about God says, let God know your dreams. And that's what our pastor's talking on, trying to get the clergy and businessmen to react. But he's also saying, hold accountable when you take in money. And you just gave some great examples of what some of the churches do. My grandfather was a pastor, so I know he did a lot of good things for people. Nobody's perfect, and sometimes they're held to a higher standard than maybe they should be, Big C. But there are a lot of people that do good. But I got to get your thoughts on something, because as a sports guy, we're not just sports people, and we're not dumb enough to be just sports guys. But I want to get your thoughts with this MLK holiday coming up, and a lot of people like sporting events, and we put sports behind everything. But there's been a shift in the African-American diaspora since Dr. King passed. Well, back in the day, more black Americans were on TV or talked about TV on TV when they were talking about politics or some religion, because that's where a lot of African Americans had their power. We were not really dominant in the sports scene because we weren't allowed to play in a lot of sports with mainstream. So how have we let, and at that time there were more black business owners that had business back then in the days of King and even segregation, and maybe that's why, than we have now. Now it seems like most people, and maybe you can think back to your own grandfather, Big C, most people now, young black kids, are led into this belief that you can only make it as a multi-million-dollar athlete. Dr. King didn't have that message. I want to ask you when that divide happened from being a service person to having to have a $100 million contract. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I mean, it's not bad in life to have a $100 million contract, but a lot of these things change through desegregation.
Yeah.
And if you look at it from this perspective, Charlton, as a professional athlete and a professional business person,
yeah,
who would make the most money in the short amount of time that has a tendency to go the furthest? I mean, if you a first-round draft pick in any major sport in America, Charlton,
yeah,
you make enough in that first contract to set you for life.
For life, yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
So to pass on that opportunity as an African American, as a white, as a Hispanic, as an Asian,
be foolish.
You can't ask somebody to say, turn your back on $25 million.
Right.
That you're going to get over the next 4 years.
Yeah.
So that dream that we talk about, you know, when there was an opportunity, I know as a kid I wanted to be a fireman.
Yeah.
But blacks weren't allowed to be firemen in those days, Charlton. It was a segregated industry.
Yeah.
Being a firefighter in America was segregated, that only whites could serve in that.
Yeah.
And that was my dream job growing up, Charlton. I wanted to be a fireman. I wanted to be able to go out and put out fires and help save lives.
Yeah.
That was my aspiration. But as a black kid, it wasn't real because we were segregated again.
Wow.
So when we look at opportunities that minorities get, Charlton, even in the music industry during Martin Luther King's time, Charlton, it was a segregated music industry, Charlton.
Yeah.
You were limited about what you were able to produce and put on the air.
Yeah.
There were only a couple of black labels, Charlton. To get played on mainstream television, Charlton, was a stretch.
Yeah.
So many artists never got heard, Charlton, but their music was stolen and put on mainstream by a white artist.
Yeah.
Well, so when you think about blacks, Charlton, over the decades having an opportunity and seeking other things, athletics was something that was given to them, Charlton, that they didn't have an opportunity with for decades. Think about how they were ostracized from professional sports or rationed the number of players they could play.
Wow.
They said, no, we can only have one or two. So when that opportunity came, Charlton, that they could all go out and make a decent living doing something that they did as a kid for free, you couldn't ask them to turn their back on that opportunity, Charlton.
Yeah, and
I think the thing is now, because of the way the structure of it is that we don't have a solid home structure, and that doesn't make any difference what race it is.
Right.
And, you know, you're trying to say you need to go out and be the breadwinner.
Yeah.
It's always been that way. You go out and make it, and you can help everybody out.
Yeah.
But you can't. And I think that's a missed message that's given, because it's come at them first, Charlton, by these agents that are leeches. That say, hey, you're going to be a number one draft pick. You're going to go in the first round. We already, Charlton, have 115 underclassmen that have declared for the NFL draft.
115?
115.
Wow.
And the draft, Charlton, only drafts 256 players.
Wow.
So we have 115 underclassmen, that's sophomores and juniors, that have declared for the draft.
Yeah.
Now, Charlton, half of those guys won't get drafted.
Yep.
So what's going to happen to their aspirations and their future at that point? Because they've given up on their college scholarship. So are they going to labor around for 2 or 3 years trying to make it with an NFL practice team, Charlton?
Right.
Or are they just going to fall out of the loop completely without completing that education?
Well, that's a good point, too, because if I take back to the I Have a Dream speech and people think about Dr. King, I'm really grateful that Dr. King was embraced by people all over the world that believe in decency, not just here in the United States. We know that JFK didn't want to even meet with Dr. King. Lyndon Baines Johnson met with him. The late Billy Graham met with him. There were so many decent people that met with Dr. King, and because he had a message of unity and inclusiveness. And I know it never really translated into the workforce, Big C, and now that we've opened up this opportunity, I wonder, just with your thoughts, and no one can really know, what do you think Dr. King's message coming up on Monday, the holiday, after we get, full of our bellies on football, what would his message be if he had a message to give today? Would it still be about this I have a dream speech? When Dr. King was doing his marches, there were not African Americans that had $100 million contracts like you talked about, or even $10 million contracts. Do you think his message would have been, how do we distribute that wealth? Or what do you think his message would have been? Because no one had that kind of money back then, at least playing sports. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, if you look at the contents of his message, and I have a dream, is that I want to be treated equal.
Yeah.
And so his dream has come to fruition in many ways. If people think that Dr. King was talking to Black America, he was not talking to Black America, Charlton. He was talking to white America.
Yeah.
Give us the opportunity to show that we are equal people.
Yeah.
That's what Dr. King's message was when you look at the content of it.
Yeah.
Is that give us the chance. Give us a chance to go to the same schools you do.
Yeah.
Give us a chance to seek the same employment that you do. Give us a chance to seek the same wages that you do.
Yeah.
That was Dr. King's message. Dr. King's message resonated more with poor white Americans than it did with anybody else, Charlton.
Really?
Because he showed them that they were no better than a Black American at the time, Charlton.
Yeah.
That rich white America didn't care about them.
Yeah.
That became the axe against white America, Charlton.
Yeah.
Is that he showed poor whites that they were no better than Black Americans, Charlton, when they looked at their living conditions.
Yeah.
Compared to that white affluent person, Charlton.
Yeah.
That was the person that he affected the most.
Wow.
And then he offended the rest of white America. Black people were on the same path of him from the start, Charlton.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were already in that position. He had to persuade the other side, which is what he did, Charlton.
Yes.
That's where his message had the most volume. And that's what made white America, affluent white America, fearful of Dr. King more than anything, Charlton.
Yeah.
Once those people started gravitating to his message, Black people were in the same plight as Dr. King.
Yes.
But when he identified white America that was in the same plight also, Charlton, that's where his true power was gained. And you look at the gains of Black America after he let white America know where they were, Charlton.
Yeah, I think that's very salient, Big C. Isn't it ironic? It's so ironic how the universe will justify things that happen. Here we are in this government shutdown, and we talked about opening the show. Wouldn't it be great if, as a universal symbol, that we had some type of way to fund the government going into the weekend, especially the MLK weekend? But also, it's so ironic how mainstream America, that's Caucasian Americans who feel that they got where they were because they worked hard. No, just like the government been shut down, if somebody don't turn on that pay switch, the light switch, you're not going to get the opportunity. Opportunities are given when you're there, and people have to give them to you, not deny you. But isn't it ironic that Dr. King fought for equality, social justice, economic reform, and even didn't want us dealing with Vietnam and other wars that we've had in this country? Isn't it ironic that mainstream, coming up on his weekend, if we don't fund the government with POTUS, mainstream is feeling like Black Americans were feeling when Dr. King was marching and saying, give us opportunity, give us equality, give us a chance to work and earn a decent wage, give us all those things that sometimes is just a song. And people might feel like, well, how do I fit in? I'm white, how would I help with the march? Now they're realizing their paychecks have a lot more to make them feel in common with what Dr. King was talking about. Do you think that's kind of a universal, kind of a justification of why Dr. King was right about, Bixie? Your thoughts?
Well, when you think about this government shutdown, Charlton, this government shutdown is not for a purpose. It's about somebody's dog whistle, Charlton.
Yeah.
His fear-mongering. That's what this shutdown is about. And I think that everybody universally is starting to understand that, Charlton.
Yeah.
That this is not about a wall. Because this wall is not going to make any difference in where America is.
No.
It would take more than a decade, Charlton, to build this wall.
Yep.
And so I don't see where the immediate fix would be. Where would you start the wall at, Charlton?
Wow.
There's points that people don't even see people coming across the border, Charlton.
They don't.
Modern technology is what you need as far as defending a border, Charlton.
Yeah.
There are 5 times as many illegal immigrants come across our northern border, where Canada is,
Yep.
where most of those people look like white Americans,
Yeah.
than there is coming across the southern border.
Yeah.
The terrorists that have come into this country, Charlton, on 9/11
Yeah.
came through Canada.
Yeah.
They didn't come through Mexico. They came through Canada.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
one addresses this issue, Charlton.
Yep.
So when you talk about creating equality and opportunity, Charlton, with this border shutdown, Charlton, and this government shutdown in America, it's not going to occur as far as refunding the government.
Right.
The president has a couple people that he listens to, Sean Hannity, Rush Limbaugh,
Yeah.
and this one female, I can't think of her name at the moment.
Is it the boss?
Is
Is it the boss?
Ann Coulter.
Okay.
Ann Coulter.
Okay.
If Ann Coulter says something negative about the president, if Rush Limbaugh or Sean Hannity,
Yeah.
what he needs to do, that's who he's going to follow. Those are his advisors.
Yeah.
And so when you think about those three people control the lives of 3 to 4 million Americans, Charlton,
Yeah.
being able to pay their bills. And so all of those people who voted for the president, I'm glad that they did.
Yeah. They
Because
get to see.
he's delivering on what he told them, is that I don't care about you.
Yeah.
I'm caring about my self-interest. He told them that from the start.
Yeah.
I remember there was one speech that he said, Charlton, he said, you African Americans,
Yep.
look at how you're doing now.
Yeah.
You can't do any worse with me.
I remember
That's
that.
what he said. You can't do any worse with me.
Yeah. I remember
And
that.
so all of those people that are government workers, that are African Americans,
Yeah.
ask yourself, are you better off now with Trump being president, or were you better off prior to him being president?
I think that answer is loud and clear. I want to say sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is a foundation to this billion-dollar industry. For every athletic and sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They've been around half a century. They work with Big C Sports. Whether you're a pro team, a collegiate team, a high school team, or your mom and pop soccer league, when you reach out to them, let them know Big C sent you. I think for a lot of the conversations I've had in life with business people and all over this country, people want to say it's yours. When you buy a home, you want the loan company to say it's yours. Especially if you buy a car, it's yours. If you're looking for a chance to get a grant to go to college, it's yours. Whatever it is, it's yours. When you got your paycheck, playing your first professional paycheck, when they give you that check, they say it's yours. We all want to hear it's yours. You want to hear it's yours from someone who loves you. It's yours. It's yours is one of the keys that we want to hear. And to have freedom and liberty and justice for all, it's yours, but we got to fight for it, Big C. You got to tell people what you want, and if they really care about it being yours, they'll give it to you. If not, you got to keep asking for it. Speaking of asking for something that is yours, that's what Nick Saban wanted to hear in the world of college football. You look at if Bama is like Bama's for life, and that's what will never change. But now it's about changing that chapter in his life for Jalen Hurts, transferring to Oklahoma. Opportunity and freedom, you always want to hear people say it's yours. It's yours for the taking. You just got to ask for it. So there's a little bit of fallback and pushback. He's not the first quarterback to transfer anywhere, but he's done everything you've been asking a young man to do to help that team win. I think he went 26-2 as a starter and lost a position at the halftime of a championship game. And now he's still getting some pushback because he wants to go to Oklahoma where they can say the opportunity is yours, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I'm proud of this young man. He graduated already from Alabama, so he's a graduate transfer,
Yeah.
which makes him eligible to play immediately, Charlton.
Yep.
When you think about the character of this young man, Jalen Hurts, Charlton, the former Alabama starting quarterback, he didn't create a media rift, which everyone tried to create for him.
Yeah.
He just sat back, Charlton, and was a good soldier, is what he was. He was a great teammate, and that's all you can ask for.
Yep.
He was humble. He was never arrogant, Charlton. In winning and in losing, he was the same individual.
Yeah.
It was the media. What makes it so amazing, Charlton, it's the media that tries to make the black players have animosity.
Yeah.
At the same time that Jalen Hurts transferred, Charlton, there was a quarterback who transferred from Ohio State to the University of Miami.
Yep.
Their backup quarterback from last year.
Yeah.
Because Fields had transferred from Georgia to Ohio State a week ago.
Yeah.
There was no hoopla about the Ohio State quarterback transferring, Charlton.
No.
He was a white player. He has the right to leave, Charlton, if he doesn't have the ability to play.
Yeah.
The position is going to be taken by somebody else. You won't see anything in the media about him, Charlton. leaving Ohio State, going to Miami.
Nope, won't
But
hear it.
Jalen Hurts is like, how can you walk away from Nick Saban? Well, Nick Saban walked away from him.
Yeah.
Just like Dabo Swinney walked away from Kelly Bryant.
Yeah.
And I'm not here to make people happy.
Yeah.
I'm here to win. And truly, that is what a college football coach is there for, Charlton, to win. Because those who lose, we see them on the unemployment line, moving on.
Yep.
So I can understand the position of a coach saying, I recruited everybody here to play.
Yeah.
And it's an open competition.
Yeah.
And the best guy is going to play.
Yeah.
So I appreciate players that say, I'm going to go create an open competition for myself.
Yep.
I'm going to choose my next stopping point. I'm going to go to a university that I feel that fits my talent.
Yeah.
And compete for an opportunity there to play. I can only give so much and give so much to a university that's recruited me.
Right.
Because as we've seen those 115 underclassmen declared for the NFL draft, and I believe at least 5 Alabama players have declared for the draft, Charlton.
Wow.
Is that they moved on. And nobody's giving them backlash, Charlton, for moving on to the draft.
No.
But you have a quarterback who no longer possesses that starting position at Alabama, Charlton. And people have to remember, Alabama's had 3 other quarterbacks transfer other than Jalen Hurts over the last 2 years.
Wow.
There's been no fanfare from the media about those quarterbacks. Matter of fact, Charlton, the quarterback at Central Florida last year was an Alabama transfer that Jalen Hurts had beat out. But he had transferred to Arizona State first, Charlton.
Yep.
Couldn't beat anybody out at Arizona State. Transferred to Central Florida.
Yes.
But it was quiet, Charlton, because Bennett was white.
Yes.
Jalen Hurts is black. So he's doing something that you're not supposed to be able to do. Have the power of a black man to control your freedom.
Isn't that something when you think about Oklahoma getting Hurts and Oklahoma under Barry Switzer back in the 80s, where he sent Terry Donahue a phone call, and Trey Aikman had broken his leg playing the University of Miami down in Norman, and he called him up and said, I got a quarterback that might fit your system. And Troy Aikman ended up in UCLA, and that's where he became an All-American and an All-Pro quarterback with 3-time Super Bowl champion. But he was given that chance. We just talked about everybody wants to hear 2 words. It's yours. No matter what it is, it's yours. The land is yours. The house is yours. The job, it's yours. The relationship, it's yours. Everybody want to hear it's yours. And when Barry Switzer took that phone and called Donahue and said, I have a guy that can help you, that can fit your system, here, he's yours. And they didn't tie it up. There was no national putback, and Troy Aikman went on to success at UCLA. Jamel Holloway got a chance coming from Los Angeles to play at Oklahoma, where they won the national championship anyway. Talk about the contrast in times, the same way we talked about Dr. King pushing for equality. Now we have black men making $100 million, $200 million as athletes. Many more in business make a lot of money too. They're just not well known. But how has that changed from Donahue and Barry Switzer to what we have now with Oklahoma and your good old boy down at Alabama, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, in today's modern athlete, the NCAA has implemented rules that players can get into a portal to transfer.
Yeah.
Back in those days before, Charlton, players didn't have that opportunity. It was up to the university to release them from their scholarship.
Yeah.
And they can block them from going to a participating university.
Wow.
This just shows the growth of athletics, Charlton, over the decades, that now players have this freedom, this autonomy to move around on their own, that they give them the latitude because they're intelligent enough.
Yeah.
Players now make family decisions, Charlton, when they attend university. It's not just the player involved. Their parents are involved with it also.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that the NCAA has moved forward, Charlton, to take a little bit of a step out of the slave mentality that they had. No, this university owns you forever.
Yeah.
And you cannot leave.
Yep.
But now players have the ability to leave, Charlton, and not lose any time by having to sit out and redshirt a year, Charlton, that they can go and play immediately and continue on with their athletic careers.
Yeah, and I'm proud of that. And even as we transfer from college to college, as coaches, nobody really cares. They say you got the promotion. And I think Frost went from Central Florida to Nebraska. It's been I mean, the Kingsbury down from Texas Tech to USC now to the Arizona Cardinals. It's happened everywhere, Big C. I want to look at something similar in the NBA. You had last night the Celtics 117, the Raptors 108. And I think when you look at how Boston played better when they had Kyrie Irving kind of not stirring up mess, but he was stirring up something, Big C. And he told the truth. And I don't think many people expected Boston to whip Toronto, but, you get some of that Boston justice. The Patriots know what I'm talking about. But just your thoughts on how that was a big win for the Celtics when they were somewhat struggling, and people were trying to make it seem like Kyrie Irving was the fault, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I mean, you got to look at the coach, Brad Stevens. He is the one who is dealing with the rotation of players in the lineup.
Yeah.
Kyrie Irving doesn't control that. I mean, everybody who has been a star in the NBA wants to play.
Yeah.
Gordon Hayward wants to play. But it's easier to point the finger at Kyrie Irving because he's the one guy on the roster with a ring, Charlton, that has come in there. And he was supposed to be the stabilizing force, and he was just supposed to go along with the program.
Yeah.
But, you're going to go after the guy who brings you the most attention from the media perspective. When you think about reporters, Charlton, are they looking at, if you were in OKC, would they talk about Steven Adams or would they talk about Russell Westbrook and Paul George? You look at the Los Angeles Lakers, Charlton. LeBron James has been out 12 games.
Yeah.
Who do they talk about with the Lakers? LeBron James. He's not even playing.
Not even playing.
The guys in the lineup almost like statuesque figures.
Yep.
They're concerned about James. That's all the media talking. So when you look at the biggest name on the Boston roster, Charlton, he is Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
So our media brethren are so lazy that they want to pick a fight with something that's insignificant, but they can't build and tell the story, Charlton.
Yeah.
So they victimize the most popular guy.
Well, I want to think about popular guy, and there are a lot of scores yesterday. Of course, the Pistons won 21-15 over the Magic. Celtics won 17-108 over the Raptors. It was the Grizzlies. They fell to the Bucks 111-101. The Nets with a surprising win, overtime win, over the Rockets 145-142. Harden had 58 points, and this guy he's on a pace to do what nobody has really done. That he doesn't pass the ball. I've noticed that, but he doesn't have to, Mitch, because he's there. But I want to just get your thoughts. If he could pass more, then I think they would be more successful. But I know you can say, well, they don't have what they had last year. Paul's not doing his thing. He's not there yet. But he's going to shoot himself out, Bixie. I think he did it before, but he's trying to get that scoring title, perhaps. He's trying to do something more than pass, and it's great to say he's scored 58 points, but he's probably going to run out of steam at the finish line, though, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you look at the Houston roster, who else can dominate the ball like him? Who can dominate the basket? When you look at basketball teams, you look at the Golden State Warriors, who do they rather have take a shot? Is it Steph Curry?
It's Curry. It's Curry now. Curry, yeah.
Or is it Draymond Green?
No, it's not Draymond.
Who's the go-to guy?
It's not
Draymond Green is not the go-to guy, Charlton, in that roster.
No.
You got three guys that are the go-to guys on that roster.
Yeah.
And even when they bring Iguodala off the bench, he's a perimeter shooter more than Draymond Green is.
Yeah.
When you look at the Houston Rockets, Charlton, they've lost key elements of that team.
Yeah.
James Harden, that team is only going to go as far as James Harden. And when he has to go out every night, Charlton, and score more than 50% of the team's points, Charlton, you got to realize these other players have had the ball in their hand.
Yep.
But if they're not knocking it down, then he's going to feel obligated to take the shot.
Yeah.
The league has made James Harden what it was. It's given him opportunities to create rules just for him.
Yep.
But other players don't always feel that they can get the shot done, Joe.
Right.
I mean, when you look at the Lakers, look at what they've done since LeBron has been out of the lineup, Joe. They're 4-7, 4-8.
Yeah.
They were a team that was 20-14 when he was in the lineup.
Yeah.
He had helped them evolve. He's not there, they take a step back.
Yeah.
They don't have a go-to guy with the team, Joe.
Yep.
And that's where Houston is. Without a go-to guy, James Harden is what this team has been built around.
Yeah, very good point, Big C. Spurs 105, Mavericks 101, and it was the Trailblazers with a big win over Cavaliers 129-112. It was the Jazz 129-109 over the Clippers. The game of the night, you look at the Pelicans from New Orleans, and you look at the Golden State Warriors 147-140 for Golden State. At the time, they were down 18 points. at Oracle Arena. I think I saw one of the better performances in the second half of the game that I've ever seen in Steph Curry. It's as if everything he shot went in. And there were times when even the opponent, I remember there was a time Davis approached him at the top of the key, and Curry had somebody behind him, but he arched the ball high enough to still knock down the three. And it looked like Davis didn't challenge, but he did challenge. But Curry when he's on, he's on. And I think even last night, of course, you have Durant, you have Curry and Thompson. Draymond, for some reason, will still shoot the ball because he wants to get on the scoring table. And they look so unstoppable offensively. But let me get your thoughts. They gave up 140 points. Is that winning basketball for an NBA championship team, Big C? Your thoughts?
Yeah, for them it is, Charlton, because they've proven that you can outscore. You score 140 points and you lose. You know, that's disparaging to your opponent, Charlton.
Yeah.
It's not something that you can hang it. Well, we scored 140 points, but you lost.
Yeah.
You know, that's the key element.
Yeah.
Is that you've given your best. That's defeatist mentally, Charlton, to athletes.
Yeah.
Is that you've given your best and your best is just not good enough.
Just not good enough. Yeah.
Jesse Osborne had that song. You giving your best is just not good enough.
Just not good enough.
And that's where it is when the Golden State Warriors come out, Charlton.
Yeah.
We saw them play the best team in the West.
Yeah.
The Denver Nuggets.
Yep.
And they set the house on fire against the Denver Nuggets.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you think about the Pelicans coming in and say, well, they're going to be tired because they put up 142 points on Denver. You know, they had to run up and down the court all night long, so we have a chance. You know, they scored 140 points, Charlton. The Warriors still scored 142 against Denver.
Yep.
The Pelicans would have lost that game.
Yeah, they would have lost
But
that game,
they went to the next level, scored 147 points against the Pelicans.
Yeah.
So when you walk into the locker room as the Pelican players, demoralized from the loss, and you say, we just played our best game of the year.
Yep.
And it wasn't good enough.
So, Big C, then, how do you bring in, you know how they say it's yours? Like the theme of everything in life. Isn't it great when you pray, our pastor talk about praying, when God says it's yours? It's yours. Whether it's $1 million or $100 million or whatever it is, the house, the car, the job, it's yours. When DeMarcus Cousins is ready to play, and he's going to be able to get into the lineup, and some people are thinking in the next week, I want to get your thoughts, and I know you don't suffer from having another all-star player on your team, but there's something called chemistry, and I just wonder, the easy answer is yes, but they're rolling so well right now. I think they won 6 in a row. Do you take the chance in bringing in someone as a starter? I think bring him in, but don't start him. I think people might think, no, you got to start an all-star. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, I look at Cousins coming into this Golden State role, Charlton, is that he's had an opportunity to sit back and accept what his role is going to be with this organization.
Yeah.
Is that he wants to win. Players don't always get opportunities to win.
Yeah.
And he's been enough of an all-star, Charlton. He's had all the personal accolades, but the opportunity to win a championship trophy is what he desires more than anything else, Charlton.
Yeah.
And so he's willing to take a lesser role. He took less money.
Yep.
He didn't take all-star money to come to the Golden State Warriors.
No.
He took acceptance money.
Yeah.
And so when you're willing to take acceptance money, you're willing to take an acceptance role with an organization.
Yeah.
He's going to be an asset. We haven't seen him on game day, Charlton, but he has worked with the team.
Yeah.
He has understood the role that he's going to partake once he's put into the lineup.
Yeah.
Is that we're not looking to get 25 points out of you. We are looking to get 10, 12 points out of you in a game.
Yep.
That's what we're expecting from you.
Yep.
We're expecting for you to clog up the middle. He's watched the Golden State Warriors, Charlton, play throughout his career. So he knows what his fit is going to be in this team because he called this team and said, I want to be with you guys.
He did that.
I don't want to be the guy.
Right.
I want to be with you guys.
Yep.
It's hard for a lot of athletes to make adjustments in the middle or even the latter part of their career, Charlton.
Yeah.
It takes a special person. But when you've been broken, and that's what happened to Cousins. He was broken, Charlton.
Yeah.
Towards Achilles.
Yeah.
The thing with him is now that he has to look forward and not look back to what he used to be. I remember the great Dominique Wilkins tore his Achilles tendon, Charlton.
Yeah.
One of the greatest leapers in NBA history. But when he came back, Charlton, he realized that he was not the Dominique that had been the Skywalker that he had been, catapulting over everybody.
Yeah.
So he was willing to accept less and let his teammates develop, Charlton, to try to get to that same ultimate goal.
Yep, I think that's a very great observation. At the end of the season, he would love for the commissioner of the NBA, Adam Silver, to say, it's yours. Like, the trophy's yours, the championship is yours. They all want to hear it's yours, Big C. And so I wish DeMarcus Cousins a lot of success. I know he was maligned in Sacramento for helping them win. And a lot of people said they didn't like his attitude because he spoke his mind. And they wanted him to be a sycophant and be a yes boy or a yes sir mentality. But I think you got to respect people when they're honest. You don't always have to like them. And that's one thing that I've always liked about DeMarcus Cousins. And I hope they'll have success in Golden State. I think they'll embrace him because they embrace winners. Some of the great games tonight, you have the Pacers, and they're at home versus the 76ers. The Sacramento Kings are at the Charlotte Hornets, and you have the Phoenix Suns at the Raptors, who came off that loss to Boston. So hopefully they'll turn things around for the good people up north. And I'm just looking forward to a lot of good basketball, Big C. And whether it's Golden State dominating again, we know it's not going to be Cleveland. It's going to be somebody else. The Bulls at the Nuggets tonight. Nuggets got to be licking their chops from that beatdown they took to Golden State. But the game of the night is not the game of the night because of athletes. It's the game of the night because of intrigue. Well, George's not going to end up in L.A. We know that. And there was talk that Westbrook should have been there too. LeBron James still not playing. But the L.A., everything shines brighter when George goes back home. But they're not playing in L.A. this time. That's what happened last time. Now they come right back to Oklahoma City, and it's a dust bowl of a town compared to L.A., of course. They got over on the Lakers when they went to Tinseltown, but it was all about Paul George. Now going back home, do they let their guards down because they handle L.A. so easily? I don't think so, but I want to get your thoughts, Big C.
Well, no, Charlton, I mean, this is a team on a mission. They've gotten better.
Yeah.
And like I said, when Westbrook deferred to Paul George to say, hey, guys, you can get it done. I don't need to take every shot.
Exactly.
I want to be more incorporated as a teammate.
Yeah.
And to have someone as your equal on a roster, Charlton, is a great attribute to have.
Yeah.
And he hasn't had that before since Durant had left. When you look at how equal the team was at that point, a lot of people criticize him for taking shots that they felt Durant should take.
Yeah.
He's grown mentally as a player, Charlton.
Oh, yeah.
That's where Russell Westbrook has gone. And now he's willing to defer to get more and for him to have less and the team to win. And that's what he's got with Paul George.
Yeah.
He's not looking at an ego. Paul came and joined him, said, hey, I want to be a part of your party.
Yeah.
And Russell said, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to let you carry the mantle also.
Yeah.
And that's why Oklahoma City is sitting where they are right now, Charlton, in the Western Division, because Russell Westbrook has grown up.
Yep.
Not that Paul George has gotten better. Russell Westbrook has grown up. And all the role players, Charlton, are stepping up. They're recognizing this. And they're allowing their superstars to shine and taking the role that they need to play, Charlton.
Yeah, and you can't always be a star. So as we close out an NBA talk tonight, again, James Harden, I know you say he has no one to pass to, but he's averaged 40 points over the last 20 games. And he's the only player besides the great late Wilt Chamberlain to have over 55 points in back-to-back games. I just don't want to see him run out of energy. I'd love to see that drama in the playoffs like they had last year. But when you can't compare anyone to Wilt. But could you imagine if Wilt played in today's game and what Harden is doing? People say, oh, I've never seen any player like this. I've never seen any kind of performance like that in the universe. Imagine that was like average. That was a walk in the park for Wilt. In fact, Wilt was getting averaging over 50. Harden's like, 10 points under Wilt's average, and Wilt didn't shoot 3 points. Big, so your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you look at the young viewer today that's 20 and 30 years old,
yeah,
they know nothing about Wilt Chamberlain, Charlton, and the greatest thing they ever saw in their lives in their mind was Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan couldn't score with Paul Westbrook. I mean, not Paul Westbrook, but
Chamberlain.
James Harden right now.
Yeah.
What James Harden right now, Charlton, is doing is in rarefied air.
Yeah.
As you can mention the legendary Wilt Chamberlain and what he did.
Yeah.
And what he did, how he controlled the game, Charlton. If Wilt was playing in today's game, Charlton, he could still dominate.
Yep.
Because the physical attributes that he possessed, Charlton.
Yeah.
And, there's not big men in the game today, Charlton, that can guard him.
No.
You know, they didn't have his athleticism. Well, one of the things a lot of people don't remember about Wilt is that he was a track athlete also, Charlton. He was a high jumper.
Yeah.
So he possessed more athletic skills, Charlton, than other people in the game. And when you look at the average big man now, Charlton, Wilt could have done all those things that they're doing.
Yeah.
And even more.
Yep.
But dominating the paint, Charlton, is what Wilt would do in this era of basketball.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. We miss so much by not seeing it. That's why I really appreciate what players are doing now. Kevin Durant and James Harden both fell in their positions in NBA fans all-star voting. Are fans not watching the stats? Are they voting? Why would you be so dominant and you still trail in your position in voting, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you got to look logistically where those fans are. Kevin Durant is in the late games that people don't see.
Yep.
And you think about all the early season tips that were created in the media about the Warriors franchise, about Kevin Durant not wanting to be there, that he was done, and the Warriors wouldn't make the finals this year, might not even make the playoffs. All that talk. That's what fans listen to. Fans, you've told us many times that, the job of a sportscaster is to make you believe.
Yeah.
Okay, whether you did or did not see it.
Yep.
And that's what they've done to the legacy of a Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Is that, he's not playing at that all-star level.
Yep.
All you have to do is look at the numbers.
Yep.
Then you look at James Harden leading the league in scoring.
Yeah.
How could somebody not vote him in?
Yep.
But the negative publicity that comes along, and when you look at both of these teams, Charlton, had a little early season struggle.
Yeah.
But when you look around the NBA, who was playing better?
Yep.
There weren't anybody else playing better, Charlton. But I think a lot of the fans were going along with what the media is, and like I said, those West Coast teams are not seen by that early voting from the fans in the East.
That's a very good point, Big C. Last two topics before we close out today and Thursday on Big C Sports. In the world of golf, January 24th, the date Tiger Woods will make his 2019 debut, the first round of the Farmers Insurance Open in San Diego at Torrey Pines. I know that big sea of people following Tiger when they played down in Atlanta last season, and he won, another tournament championship, and it seemed like, okay, he's really prized, Big C, for a big 2019. It's almost as if he can just duplicate what he did there, the universe says it's yours. Big C, your thoughts on Tiger?
Well, he dominated the FedEx Cup, Charlton, when everybody said he would never win a major tournament. He goes out and wins the most prestigious, probably the second most prestigious tournament of the year, but the financially most beneficial. Tiger, can get his game back. When Tiger goes out and is calm on the course, Charlton, it's great for golf.
Yeah.
Golf right now is really stacking up for a fantastic 2019, Charlton.
Yep.
When you think about the play of the early, part of this season, Charlton, no major's been played, but the golfers are in real form right now, Charlton, in the early start.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, especially out here in California. We've had so much devastation with the fires over the last year, really last 2 years, and golf tends to bring people together, especially when black men are at the top of the leaderboard. I'm not saying that to be flippant. When Tiger's at the top of the leaderboard, it really changes the scope of golf. I love seeing him do great. Phil Mickelson shot at 12 under at under 60 in the Quinta, California, tying a career low in a round of golf. Since he got that $9 million that Tiger Woods says is yours because he didn't really compete for it. I mean, I want to see Phil and Tiger. I want to see those two names dominate 2019. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you think about that. Tiger getting ready to come back on the circuit, field at rare form, Charlton, shooting a 60 at La Quinta over the weekend, Charlton.
Yeah.
And you think about that. The golfers that are shooting those low scores, that racks up for great competition. I mean, the TV networks really have to be excited, Charlton, about the 2019 season. But Tiger starting the season, Charlton, that's going to bring so much fanfare to golf. When we talk about the greatest athletes in sports, Charlton, everybody says Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, and we gave Tom Brady some great praise because of what he's done over his career.
He's earned it.
But nobody's been more impactful in any professional sport than Tiger Woods.
Yep.
Tiger Woods changed the landscape of professional sports, of casual sports.
Yeah.
When you look at the number of Americans, Charlton, who all of a sudden wanted to play golf, and especially African Americans. And, I grew up, Charlton, golf had to be the most boring game in the world. Who would want to go play golf?
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, this young kid comes on.
Yeah.
I got 3 sets of golf clubs out in my garage.
Yeah.
So, he made the casual person go out on the golf course, Charlton.
Yeah.
From getting off the basketball court, Charlton, getting off the couch, people started playing golf.
Yeah.
Little kids, Charlton, wanted to play golf.
Yeah.
All nationalities.
Yep.
So when you talk about a guy who influences the world, when you look over the last 30 years, Charlton, in all professional sports, not just the last 10, 20, look at the last 30 years in professional sports.
Yeah.
One individual has moved the needle more than anybody. Tom Brady didn't make other kids want to go play quarterback.
Oh, no.
He didn't.
Good point.
Not at all. Michael Jordan, who had kids wanting to play basketball, but they were already playing basketball, Charlton.
Right.
The basketball, we had basketballs when I was a kid, so everybody's always played basketball. There was nobody in baseball to say, hey, I got to go pick up a bat.
Right. Yeah.
It just wasn't that. Even in hockey, there was nobody, even with the great Wayne Gretzky, Charlton, to say, hey, that's my future.
Yeah.
Being a professional hockey player.
Yeah.
But Tiger Woods came along, Charlton, and the world watched and listened.
Yeah.
When you talk about the greatest influence in sports, I know in the last 30 years, Charlton, has been Tiger Woods.
Yeah, it's been Tiger Woods, Big C. And as we close out the show, I just want to give a preview for what we're doing tomorrow as we get ready for the AFC and the NFC, the championship games, and I'm really looking forward to what's happening. We have the top 4 scoring teams in the NFL reaching the conference championships. But what does that say about defenses? We know the league has made it difficult to touch a quarterback. You can't even breathe on a quarterback, Big C. But what's it say about the defenses in the NFL where we got players making big money also, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you think about these teams, you have 2 quarterbacks that are pocket passes. That's Tom Brady and Drew Brees.
Yeah.
So we're seeing a total contrast in these championship games, Charlton, of how the NFL has changed from what it was 15 years ago to where it is now. Both of those quarterbacks were playing in the NFL 15 years ago. Now you have 2 young, upstart, mobile quarterbacks in Jared Goff and Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
Potentially one of these quarterbacks, Charlton, is playing this weekend will be the NFL MVP.
Yeah.
It's a matter of whether he can get his team to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And, we talk about not being able to touch a quarterback. Well, Aaron Donald didn't get the memo because he did it 20 times.
20 and a half, yep.
He didn't get the memo.
And he was double-teamed. Yep.
He was double-teamed all the time.
Yeah.
So it's still going to come down to, Charlton, a defensive player making a big play, whether it's a defensive lineman or a defensive back, Charlton.
Yeah.
It's going to have to happen in both of these games, and somebody is going to have to make a turnover to get their team to the Super Bowl, Charlton.
Yep.
We know of the offensive firepower. Everyone gets enamored by it, Charlton.
Yeah.
And we forget about defense shows up periodically.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the scores would be 75-75. But what's going to happen is that somebody's going to have to slow down the game, Charlton.
Yeah.
They're going to have to limit the possessions of their opponent.
Yeah.
And the team that can limit the possessions of their opponent, because think about it, all of these offenses are used to having the ball all the time.
Yeah.
They're the top 4 offenses in the NFL.
Yep.
We've never seen this before going into the championship round, Charlton.
Yep.
So we're witnessing history, and we're going to witness something that's not part of history, Charlton, that's going to make the difference in the game, somebody making a defensive play.
Well, Big C, I know you love defense. A lot of people love offense. Everybody loves something. At the end of the day, every athlete that we can guarantee, they all want to hear these words. They want to hear it's yours. When it's time to crown yourself with the Lombardi Trophy as champions of the NFL, they want to hear the words, it's yours. We all want to hear it's yours. So in your prayers, as my pastor say, ask God to say it's yours. And speaking of it's yours, every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide, follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, as we always tell you, there's never, ever an excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.